Okay, it's finally Friday. It's crazy how fast time flies. Nevertheless, let's get into it. So you can see we're starting the session off with a gap down. I am not shorting anything because we are bullish bias on the higher time frame. I'm really trying to teach you guys market structure and the trend is your friend. I see this as pullback longs opportunities. Now, something that I say, history likes to repeat itself. I like the setups that are occurring today. The reason for that being at least on the overall market because we're bullish bias is remember we did this exact same thing last week on Friday, and that was the biggest pullback long entry, and that thing ended up rallying to the top of the range. We actually gapped up. So the reason I like this is because if we get a break and retest over one of these key levels, I love that it's also a gap fill play. It's also a gap fill play. So at least for me, I'm looking for pullback longs on these names where we are bullish buys or a reclaiming a key level to the upside. These are gap fill plays. It's a market objective. That is something that I like. They're high probability setups. So I'm just gonna be patient here. Do a market open, see what we want to do. SPY also, right? It's the previous day low, so we gap down. Looking for a reclaim over that. Very solid. 673. So if we can get a break and retest of a 667.35, I wouldn't mind playing that just because it's an objective. And like I said, we're bullish buys on these names. Until I'll go here to the daily until we fall under, this 653 on the overall market. We're bearish bias on Qs. If we fall under 587.85, we're bearish bias. Until then, the trend is your friend and the dip is your friend. So, we'll see. We'll probably open up around 597. That's if we don't see a bounce here during the pre-market. So we're just gonna be patient and see Tesla. So Tesla gapped. Tesla gap down. I'm gonna be a little bit patient here on Tesla. And the reason for that being is even though I'm looking for, pop and fades on this name, I just don't want Tesla to open with like such a huge rally trying to fill this gap. And then, we end up rejecting. So I'm gonna be patient here on Tesla. I know a lot of people are looking at Tesla this morning, but technically this is all a gap fill. So if we reclaim this, I would probably want it to fill this gap, or if we like get a break and retest over this and then we fall back under, I'm open to short. But coming into today's session, I'm really gonna be patient here on Tesla and read this. Let me see. I'll see what the see. Like we'll see when this opens, but look at the IV. It's at 99 right now. So I know like Tesla's been in a channel, right? It's been in a range. Now that it's outside of that range, everyone's looking to trade Tesla. So hopefully, this shoots down when market opens. I mean, look at these contracts right now. It's crazy. Look at the contracts right now on a Friday at that. So who knows? Tesla, I might not even touch Tesla. If the IV is high, I'm not messing with it. NVDA. So we know forgot to change all these, sorry. We know we're bearish bias. I'm sorry, bullish bias on this name. So coming into today, really just looking for a break and retest over this. Like I said, now that we're under this 184.50, I'm hands off here. I'm hands off here. Remember, this is a channel that we avoided. So if we stay under 184.50, I'm not even touching NVIDIA. This is a break, a structure break. So NVIDIA looks solid. If NVIDIA can get over this looks solid. So very fond of this one. This one's going on my close watch list. Let's see, Apple. So definitely watching Apple. This is the pullback I wanted. Apple's fairly an easy one to trade just because if we stay under 271, we know we're not looking at short, and we're just looking for a break and retest over this key level. So Apple's actually one that I'm watching. And then AMD. Remember I broke this down. This is like my bull flag setup I've been looking for. I've been looking for this bull flag setup. So hopefully I can get this opportunity today. This looks really good. As you know, we're bullish bias on this name. I'm not really looking to take a trade off of anything else on AMD besides this 241, I'm sorry, this 242, or pull back way down here to 225. I'll go here on the daily. You can see why, right? I want to be, if we fall, yeah. If we fall under 242.80 and stay in between here, give me one sec. I don't want anything in here. And then this is a key level here. This is our breaker structure where you see we actually defended last Friday, 225, and this thing pushed all the way up to all-time high, right? Trend is your friend, dip is your best friend. So actually, since I have these three names setting up, to be honest, I'm not even going to look at Tesla today. I'd rather just let Tesla finish developing or playing out. You can see, like, we are bearish biased, but I'd rather just mess around with Tesla next week because I already have three. Yeah, I'm very happy with the three names that I have. So those are really my main three. I'm into market open, also because all three of these names are opening up near key levels, right? If I can get a break and retest over 184 on NVIDIA, very simple. We're still bullish bias on this market, so we'll see what happens. If this thing wants to open up with a rally, hey, so be it. So these are actually one of my favorite setups anyway, just because I know it takes time. It's a little bit harder to play the pullback longs and read the price action. But for me, I like that. Hey, we're opening up under key levels because now I can just clearly see the break and the retest and the continuation higher. So just gonna be patient here. I open. Tesla wants to set up, so be it, but Tesla has a gap fill. I'll see what Tesla wants to do. We are bearish bias on this name now. Definitely bearish bias. So I would love for this to fill the gap before I really do anything on Tesla to the upside. So we'll see. We're opening up at 385. 385 here on Tesla. Let me see. Yeah, see, there's a lot of thin volume in here. This is a decent gap down this morning. We closed around 401. I'll just round out to 402. So, yeah, decent sized gap down here on Tesla. So I'm gonna be patient. But you saw the IV sitting around 100. I know everyone's gonna be looking at Tesla. I don't want to be a part of that madness. So if it sets up, it sets up. Okay, now that I'm all set up here, we got about 10 minutes till market opens. So seeing uh, a little bit of divergence here on AMD. This would be a beautiful break and retest. Like I said, I've been waiting for this, and I feel like I never got it because we started the week off with a gap up. So I'm looking for a break and retest over this. This is a bull flag break on the daily. NVDA actually showing a little bit of relative strength here compared to the Q, so I'm looking for that super solid. If we stand under 184.50, I'm just hands off, and we'll see how Apple does. So I'm liking Apple just because it's opening up around our key level. It's sitting above it right now, so I would just need some displacement and then a retest, a buyer step in, and we'll see how that looks. As of right now, yeah, forgot. Hood, you're bearish bias on this thing now. If this thing opens up under, well, it already did, right, under 120. I already showed you that's a breaker structure on the weekly. Pop and fade off of that is solid, super, super solid. Want to show you Qs. Buyers starting to step up here a little bit on the Qs. Seems like we're bouncing off that 596, which is no surprise. It's the key level right under that. And then SPY, right? Want to see buyers step up and take over. I really believe that if these two names can reclaim, right, these key levels. So for SPY, the 667, that's the start of a gap fill. I really think these things could take off, fill the gap, and it's kind of like the dip entry. It's the dip entry. So we shall see. We shall see. Okay, we got about 1 minute here till market opens. So we shall see. Like I said, I wouldn't. We're bullish bias on the overall market. I just wouldn't be surprised. I mean, we'll see in a couple seconds. If this thing just wants to rally and fill the gap, or if it stays heavy, we shall see. I am noticing really a little bit of relative strength here on these tech names compared to the Qs. So we'll see how this looks at open. We know we're definitely bullish bias on Apple. Remember, Apple still needs to pull back and retest off a key level. So if it wants to stay heavy, this morning, that's fine. Yeah, we'll see. We've got about 5 seconds here. Okay. Of course, Apple being Apple. Gonna need a better looking candle on Apple before I take that though. Hmm. And I've learned many, many years ago, never chase the morning downside. Um, a lot of people see like the morning downside and your heart rate goes up and your FOMO kicks in and you feel like everything is tanking and it's like you will get cooked more than you will win if you chase the morning downside. So, when stuff like that occurs, I'm hands off. I'm just waiting. And like I said, on these names, really outside of Tesla, I know I'm not shorting anything. So I'm just patient. Smart wants to stay heavy, just gonna let it stay heavy. Definitely some relative strength here on Apple, which no surprise. Okay. Yeah, look at the IV on Tesla. This thing's sitting at 153. Golly. Yeah, I'm good, buddy. I'm good, buddy. We'll look at you next week. People enter trade with the IV that high, and then they get a move in their favor, and they're asking, why am I not getting paid, or why am I losing money? Bro, the IV's over 100 on a 0 DTE on a Friday, 153. That's crazy. But like I said, we finally broke out of that channel, so now everyone else is going to be looking at Tesla. So I'd rather just mess with that on a Monday. It's just safer. Okay, well, now that that's off the radar, let's look at Qs. Yeah, kind of like a gap and go type of morning here on the Qs. Apple is really the main one that's in need of a deep pullback. Like I said, Apple really blessed us this week. It really did. It gave us a setup on Monday. It gave us a setup, I believe, on Wednesday, even Tuesday too. If you were comfortable enough to take the risk. For me, didn't get a deep enough pullback on those 2 days, but still, like Apple really did bless us this week. To be honest, you could have taken that, maybe yeah, really 3 times this week, which is crazy. So we need a little bit of a deeper pullback on Apple anyway, to be honest. Market's starting to show, some support here at this 595.85. So we'll see. Like this is a valid pullback long on AMD, but I don't want to be in that channel. Yeah, buyers are stepping up right there. See AMD, I don't want to be in this channel. I'd rather just wait for a break and retest above that. Nice, super nice bounce here on the Qs. Look at that, super nice bounce. So I would love for someone to set up on my tech names, but if Qs wants to break over the 602.85, I'm very open to taking that. Let's see if we can get back to the high day, just because obviously dip trading with the overall time frame, and it's a gap fill. It's a gap fill, so I actually really do like that. If NVIDIA sets up, sure. Oh, beautiful, beautiful bounce. Well, it's not really, yeah, it's a bounce. I mean, it just held the support, right? We pulled down into this 595.85, buyer stepped up, so we'll see. I don't want Qs to reject the 602.85. I don't want to see that, but we're already above the high day on the Qs. Once again, NVIDIA and QQQ is pretty much identical. So the only way out long NVIDIA is if Qs can get over the 602.85. This looks solid. Let's see, AMD cons look decent, NVIDIA cons. Actually, give me one sec. Solid, very solid. Hopefully these are people getting squeezed out of their positions for a loss. I kind of hope that. Like this is just a morning downside, like people chasing the morning downside. It's a Friday, so I'll be going in with half my position size. Let's see. I'm looking at the keys here to my right. Thing is, I can't take this 184.50 if we break over this before the Qs, because I don't want Qs to push into the 602 and then reject, because I know NVIDIA's going to do the same thing. So all these names are in sync though. All three of these names are identical. Look at that. All three of these names are identical. So I'm not finding really any relative strength. I guess Apple right off open, but you can see these names are pretty much a little bit identical. Trying to be very patient here. Let's see. Looking for clean displacement. 639. So in about 30 seconds, I'll get a 2-minute candle closure. Like I said, I'm really just not spotting any relative strength on any of these names. NVIDIA does look clean though. It does look clean. Like I said, on a statistical standpoint, NVIDIA gives maybe one clean setup a week. It hasn't given us any this week, so maybe today. We'll see. Maybe today. Price action on NVIDIA and AMD is looking a little bit cleaner compared to Apple. I am noticing that. Beautiful dip here on the overall market. Look at Qs. If this thing can get over the 602 and it starts to fill this gap, this thing can take off. It's like literally the same setup as it was last week, last Friday. So maybe this was just like another super big pullback long type of week. Guess we'll see. SPY looks really good too. SPY looks really good too. Main watcher right now, definitely NVIDIA. NVIDIA and AMD. I actually like seeing this reaction first before we break through. Looks super solid. AMD. Need a little bit more displacement here from NVIDIA before I even attempt that. Solid, solid. 0 GTE, not messing around with that. So that was a bit of an aggressive entry. I kind of play like the instant break and retest here. Um, let's see, what do we end up making? Give me one sec. That was a very aggressive entry. I knew that, but I didn't want to miss this because I knew that this thing was going. But I waited for the candle close, right? Displacement candle close, retest. Super solid. I was looking for this. It's a 0. I'm not messing around with that. Quick money. Give me one sec. Let's see. Yeah, 1700. And I went in with half position size. That was a solid trade. That was a solid trade. I was not looking to be greedy there. And then also, look at Q's. I did not want this thing to reject 602.85, and I get stopped out here. But we spotted the relative strength here on the name. Super solid day. 1700. I can't complain with that. Just the thing about zeros, like they move in the money fairly fast. That was nice. I'm happy with that trade. I was very patient. We got caught in that pullback. Unfortunately, we got this set up on a Friday. Like I said, NVIDIA gives us like maybe like one solid trade a week. One solid trade a week. Today it just gave us that on a Friday. But let's see. Yeah, that was roughly a 10% trade. I'm very happy with that. Coulda, shoulda, woulda, but you see I'm playing momentum here. That was a very aggressive entry. But look at the relative strength here compared to the other tech names. So, nice. Right? Trend is your friend. We're bullish bias on these names. We are bullish bias on all these names. You know, a lot of people want to chase that and say, "Oh, we're bearish." No, not at all. Look at this. Now Qs can really take off. This is literally what we just saw last Friday. That's the crazy part. Look at this. Remember last Friday we did this? We had the biggest pullback. What are we seeing right now? The same thing. If this thing wants to fill this gap, it can really take off. 2 weeks in a row on Friday, we defended this 595.85. 2 weeks in a row. So as long as we're above, 587.85, we're bullish bias on these names. I just see it as like just dip opportunities. You don't know what's going to happen when you enter a trade, but it's a high probability setup if you're trading with the overall time frame. Look at NVIDIA. These comps probably would have went maybe 100. Crazy. Solid week, right? Base hit type of week for me. Another quick day, right? Just playing your trade, trade your plan. We're hot right now. We're hot. 7-0. We are hot right now. Every single trade that I've taken, upside. Playing your trade, trade your plan. This is really the game plan coming to today on the video. I unfortunately just set up on a Friday. Also, the reason I sold majority into this push is because I knew I took an aggressive entry. So you do have to wait for this to pull back. So I don't want to be in a 0 and this thing just pulls back on me. So that was actually a 10% trade. I'm very happy with that. Understood market conditions. Scale down. Actually, not really, because I thought I scaled down, but those contracts probably just moved so fast on my entry. Because I made 1,700 12 sell. Yeah, I went in with like roughly 17K. Ideally, on zeros on a tech name on a Friday, I try and go in with 10K and call it like just to be very safe and conservative. So this is nice. This is what we love to see right now. What is the overall market doing? It's filling this gap. It's filling this gap. Right, we're bullish bias. We are bullish bias. This is beautiful. So you see what I mean on my entry here on NVDA? We haven't had one down close candle yet. Okay, so that alert that you just saw on Tesla, that's Tesla filling its gap. So remember earlier this week I said there's really no in between on Apple. Either it's going to be super clean price action or crappy price action. And right now what you're seeing is just really no in between. It's beautiful. So I'm very happy. This overall market's filling this gap. This is exactly what we want to see. There's no way like I can ride this on a zero because we're so extended, and you still got to wait for like this is a good displacement candle, right? If I'm being very conservative, this is like my displacement candle, and then the pullback, and then retest and the continuation. So you got to sell into that momentum push, especially on a zero GTE on the underline of a tech name, because those things can pull back on you hard. I was actually down 12%. I was actually down 12%, and we held my key level, right? We pulled back, which is the damage body tells the story. I didn't panic. I knew what I was doing, but that's why I sold into that because you don't know how long this is going to go, right? I know we're overextended. I know it was a momentum play. That's exactly what I wanted on a zero GTE anyways, momentum in my favor. So last 2 days, just, quick hits. Understanding market conditions are everything, right? I know when to, overstay my welcome, take my shoes off at the front door and get comfortable, or I'm just here to show my face at the party, shake some hands and leave. And the last 2 days, on these zero GTEs, I'm just here to show my face and leave. So, on a Monday, on a Tuesday, on a Wednesday, and that's when you want to be a little bit more aggressive. I sit in my trades, I embrace them, but on zero GTEs, I'm not messing around. I'm not messing around. Solid week though. I'm very happy with the week. This week was good execution, right? It was I'll do a trade recap or a weekly recap, but really what this week was hey, I understand the market's slow. Remember coming into the pre-market, I showed you guys QQQ sat in the middle of a range for 3 days. We started our week off with a gap up and consolidation. You know what I mean? So really not much going on. Not only that, it sat in between the previous day high and the previous day low for 3 whole days. So that's really not a surprise there. Um, so I understood that, right? Like, hey, this is this. Let me take my foot off the gas a little bit. You see how these names look, starting to trend? Like a QQQ, break and retest over our 602, right? That's no coincidence. We're getting clean price action on the overall market. We can see some clean price action on these tech names. Very simple. Monday and Tuesday, NVIDIA started off inside bar day. Just 2 days in a row, it sat in between the previous day high and the previous day low. Nothing going on there. So it's really just understanding these things, right? Like today is the day. Look at this. Look at Q's. This is beautiful. You caught this. You know me. I'm big on being one and done. Beautiful break, retest. This is a gap fill, market objective. This is what I was just talking about prior to market open. That is beautiful. Like if you never caught this on the video, on the video, you didn't really miss anything. My entry was pretty aggressive, but the setup was there because I waited for this candle to close 184.92, and then we did get a retest, but it wasn't enough displacement. So like on a Monday or Tuesday, I'm not taking that, but I understood I'm playing momentum here on a zero. Beautiful break and retest here on AMD. That's exactly what we were looking for. I'm not looking to be greedy. I'm not taking 2 trades. It's been a solid week. I made 10% in roughly a minute or two. I'm good. I'm solid. Unfortunately, these names set up at the end of the week. So see, you pretty much caught everything, at least on the tech side. Like off the pre-market plan, you definitely got to set up here on AMD, kinda. Let me see, remove that trend line. Yeah, knowing me, this is not enough. Actually, that is a solid displacement, I would say. That's literally, yeah, a dollar on the dot. Our key level is 242.80, and displacement candle closure is 243.81. So that's actually solid. It's actually pretty solid. So you kind of just want to pull back here. So you can see here that the momentum is so strong. The only retest we really got here on these names, crazy enough, was just QQQ. QQQ, we got the displacement candle here, body of the candle closed here. We pulled back, right? I love this. You're playing the trend, dip, and it's a gap fill. But when you look at NVIDIA and AMD, NVIDIA, you never got a retest. That's a fact. NVIDIA never got like at least a proper displacement retest. I take an aggressive entry. I was comfortable with it. Like on AMD, I would want now a pullback. Like for me, yeah, this is good displacement, but I don't like this retest candle. So now you see this displacement, now you would want to retest. NVIDIA, even if this thing pulls back, that's still valid. Love to see it. Love to see it. We gap down, we gap under. People think we're bearish. You're looking for 5-minute ORBs, pre-market low, breaking retest. Highest probability setup, my friend, is trading with the overall trend. like I said, it's a little bit of psychology, but you got to flip it. For me, when I see the overall market is pulling back very heavy, and I know I've said this in the past, and we gap down and we gap, I'm just looking at it as an opportunity. If we're trending on the weekly and the daily and we're bullish buys, I'm just looking for pullback longs. So for me, I get excited because I'm like, all right, cool. It's just an opportunity right now. Let's see. Look at Qs, bro. This is beautiful. Like I said, I'm passionate about this. So, when your analysis is spot on and you know what you're looking for and what you're doing, it's no better feeling. So, beautiful break, right? Good displacement. Retest on the dot. Look at this candle on the dot. Hammer stick, buyer step up, push this thing higher, fill in the gap. Actually, let me see if we already filled the gap. This is the previous day low. Look at that. We're almost there. We're almost there. It's crazy, man. This happened 2 Fridays in a row. Look at that. 2 Fridays in a row. Buyers stepped up aggressively down here at this 595.85. And what are we seeing at market open? Super aggressive buyers. History likes to repeat itself. It really does. So we'll see. We don't have any red folder news or anything like that. So let's see. They said it was a monster day on Qs. If I would have actually held that, that probably would have been, no, it definitely would have been 100% return. You guys know me though on zeros. It's like a double-edged sword. Like, the thing about zeros is when you take a zero DTE, and I really want to explain this thoroughly. How do I put it? As soon as you enter a trade on a zero DTE, you're at disadvantage. That I don't care what anyone else says. As soon as you enter a trade on a zero DTE, you're already starting off at a disadvantage. You do not have time on your side. You cannot wait. You cannot sit in consolidation. You have to hope that that zero DTE works right away. And that's why I really try and teach, like, hey, if you have a small account and you want to trade the SPY and the Qs, the best advice I can give you is next day cons. You're still going to get, big moves and returns in your favor because expiration date is not far away, right? Compared to Monday on Apple, when the expiration is on a Friday at the end of the week, those contracts are going to move very, very slow. So, I hope that makes sense. When I had my small account before I kind of knew what I was doing, right? Zero DTEs were very intriguing to me. Why? Because big returns in a short span of time. It was like, I'm thinking to myself, this is a great way to grow my account and make money. Now, I did utilize this buy in the Qs in order to grow my small account because those contracts are cheap compared to, right, Tesla and NVDA, especially at the start of the week. But I started to realize, man, even though I win more than I lose, my losses are a little bit bigger. And it's not because I'm doing anything wrong. It's because theta decay. I'll get into a trade on the SPY and it chops around for 10, 15 minutes. And as soon as the move starts to go in my favor, I'm already in the red or I'm barely green. You know what I mean? So that's just kind of what I mean when I say be very careful trading zeros, because you're already at a disadvantage as soon as you hit buy. And that's the best way I can explain it to you. So, right, if you see high trade and you go back to some sessions in October, right, I was just taking base hits. I was just in and out on these zeros because I understand, if this thing goes against me, I'm cooked. So let me just ride this momentum and get out when I can. Hope that makes sense. So if it was a regular, let's say it was Monday, right? I just want to explain to you guys. Let's say it was a Monday for me. I'm not entering on this. Not at all. No way. I would have to wait. This is the better displacement candle for me, right? So now I would want to see that. That is solid. Never really got a solid displacement here. Technically on the dollar amount, you got a dollar breakout on AMD, but this is the displacement, right? And then you want to look for that. So, really missing nothing. If you saw these setups off the pre-market plan and you didn't take these, you really didn't miss out. See Apple, this is what you want to see. And then you want to see that. That is solid. Hope that makes sense. So my entry here was very aggressive. Very, very aggressive. The one thing that I did was I made sure I got a candle closure. I didn't chase that. And then I saw a buyer step up and I took my shot. Remember, the deeper the pullback, the tighter the risk. So I was comfortable doing it like that because I know instantly I'm wrong. I know instantly I'm wrong on this trade, right? Because I'm risking right off this level. So on a zero DTE, I'm not looking to, I typically have a hard stop. Typically have a hard stop. Out of curiosity, I want to see what Tesla's doing. Yeah, that's solid on Tesla. So Tesla filled the gap. Tesla filled the gap. See, that's the thing on Tesla is man, you got to be careful on this name. You really do. I feel like an educational video on Tesla alone would be 100% valid because Tesla's just that name, bro, where it just does whatever it wants. Tesla can open up and completely ignore the Qs. Qs, and there's some days where Qs and Tesla, they're not even looking at each other. Qs is doing his own thing, Tesla's doing his own thing. So, you know, you could have played the gap fill, right, a break and retest over this, and these are easily on the underline on Tesla 100%. We know we're bearish bias. Solid though, it did fill a gap, right? This was the the previous day low. We closed up here, so solid. You can see, we're using this 402.40 as resistance. Right now, if I were to touch this, I would want like a break and retest under 389.25, because then we'll clearly be under the previous day low, kind of outside of this range. But thing is, like, Tesla is setting up. Tesla looks good. It does. It's just I'd rather mess with this at the start of the week. See, something like this, you kind of hope NVDA comes back a little bit, right? And then buyer step up and push this thing higher. You got an instant retest here on AMD. The way this retest candle looked though, I'm not touching that. I wouldn't want that. And if NVIDIA is so strong, then we really never got a retest. Like today probably would have been another cash day, to be honest. Now, actually, I was looking at Qs, so maybe Qs, but like NVIDIA is just very strong right now. Clean price action. It's beautiful. I love the morning squeeze. This is what I call a morning squeeze, right? Downside, shorts can squeeze out of the position. This thing just shoots to the upside. You can see this happen on all three of these names, four of these names. Well, five, I guess, the SPY too. So yeah, Tesla's an interesting one, man. It really, really is. Because then, I mean, I'll break this down over the weekend. But the thing is, like, let's say Tesla does come all the way back down here. Explain this a little bit more thoroughly. Let's say Tesla comes all the way back down here, right? And, we're back in this, like we do that. Now we're just back in this, right? We avoided this, and then we'll just come back right to it and just be sitting in this. Keep in mind, this is the weekly time frame. So we're just sitting sideways in the weekly. It's like down here, I would just be neutral on Tesla. I'd be very neutral. Right now, my bearish bias, if we get back in between, 355, 40, now I'm just neutral on this thing. I'm open to going long and going short. So really want to play the downside until we get there, because then, we're pretty much bearish bias since we're falling under this structure. But Tesla, like, that whole thing needs a surgical breakdown on its own. Like, see, today is moving with the market. It's moving with keys. So I mean, look at this beautiful right break, good displacement retest, pushed it here on the underline. That's, I know for a fact, that's definitely almost 100% trade on Tesla. That's a $10 move and a zero. So that's not a real candle. I will say, this week has fairly been a quick week for me work wise. On Monday we took a trade on Apple. I got in at 640. Yesterday took a trade on QQQ. I got in at 645. And then today I got in on NVIDIA at 640. That's crazy. All right. So yeah, fairly quick week here. Um, quick work day. But see, the momentum is so strong on these names. The momentum is so strong on these names. So outside of the Qs today, really would have been a solid cash day. It would have been a solid cash day. So look at Tesla, right? Look at Tesla and look at QQQ. Identical. Identical. Look at that. So beautiful here on the Qs. Break, retest, continuation higher. SPY starting to chop a little bit, but trend is your friend, the dip is your best friend. I hope what I'm teaching you guys, makes sense a little bit. Um, our job as traders is to find the highest probability setups. So be process focused, not outcome focused. I don't care about whatever happens when I'm in a trade because I can't control that. It's out of my control. Something Mark Douglas says is it's all random, right? It's all random. So why focus on something you can't control? Having a system, a proven edge, what does that mean? What that means is you have a system that you've built that you know that the probabilities are in your favor over a series of trades. So that's what it means when you have an edge in the market. That means you have a system that puts the probabilities in your favor over a period of time. It's a bad comparison, but something Mark Douglas does is, he compares it to the casino. He compares it to the casino, right? The casino has a system where, we all know the saying the house always wins. That's because the casino has a legal system, quote unquote legal, a little fishy, but they have a system where the probabilities are in their favor over a period of time. I hope that makes sense. So that's what having an edge in the market is. And what I try and teach is high probability setups only. Every trade that I take, in my opinion, and how I journal, is an A+ setup. Now, why is that? I'm only taking trades off a higher time frame key levels, the weekly, the daily, and the 4 hour. Those are key inflection points in the market. So a very long time ago, I had to sit down and I had to ask myself, every single trade that I'm taking, is it an A+ setup? If you have to write no, why are you taking that trade? I realized that I was taking a lot of quantity setups over quality setups. And what do I mean by that? This is why, and keep in mind, to each their own, there's no right or wrong way to trade. That's why I don't trade off of pre-market highs and pre-market lows and previous day highs and previous day lows and 5-minute ORBs and all that. You guys see me trade every single day off these higher time frame key levels. and they play out, they work out, and if it doesn't in that moment, it just means the probabilities were not in my favor. The reason I don't trade off for pre-market highs and lows is because those are not key levels in the market. Those are not key levels where big banks, big hedge funds, big money is sitting. I explained that in my first educational video, and the reason for that being why I don't trust those levels to put size on is because those levels were created during the pre-market, which means there was low volume in the market when those levels were created. So to me, they don't hold as much strength and liquidity behind them. And that is a fact. Pre-market level does not have as much liquidity behind it as an intraday level. Why? Because it was created when the market was closed and there's not a lot of volume during that time. So I started to go down this rabbit hole and start thinking about these things, and it was like, okay, I need to identify what an A plus setup is. And that's why every single trade that I take, right, are off of higher time frame key levels. It took me a while to build my edge in my system. But what I love about my system is it forces you to be patient. You let your trades come to you. You know if you have a bias on the market, you just wait for that confirmation to set up. For an example, in all three names that you're looking at right now, I know for a fact I'm not shorting anything. So when I come into the market and everything wants to pull back, I'm calm. My heart's not racing and I'm thinking, oh crap, where do I short? Do I play the short? The market's heavy. No, I just say, okay, I just need to wait for a key level for buyers to step in and push this thing higher. I just see this as a dip opportunity buy. So hopefully, that helps. I'm really just trying to teach you guys to have a long-term mindset. What an A plus setup is. Go review all your trades, even your winning trades and your bad trades this weekend, and ask yourself, was that an A plus setup? I've taken trades where I won and it was not an A plus setup, so I don't do it again. Why? Because I don't want to practice bad habits. I've said this in the past. I think trading, one of the hard things about trading is you get rewarded for bad behavior. That's not how life works in other things, right? If you got an exam coming up and you don't study and you fail the exam, it's like, well, that's what happens, right? But in trading, you can wake up 3 minutes before the bell, close your eyes, go long, and actually make money, and right, you get paid for that bad behavior. So I kind of hope that makes sense. To each your own, right? If you trade, 5-minute ORBs or pre-market highs and lows, do your thing. But for me, when I did that, it was like, damn, every single day I come into the market, there's a setup. There, like every day, there's no way every single day I'm coming to the market, these are high A plus setups. No, then I learned, right, those are really scalps, right? Those are scalps. So it's not something that I'm necessarily looking for. I like to sit in my trades. I like to embrace my trades. This week, a little different. It was very conservative, right? I was playing with zero DTEs. I only had one trade this week on Apple, and that was on Monday. I took my shot and I actually sat in my trade to let it play out. Other than that, I understand the conditions. I'm taking, quick momentum moves in my favor. I can't complain, over 10, 12% in a minute, and I go about my day. So just understand stuff like that too. So I kind of hope that helps. Treat this as school. I've had people email me and they're asking me, any advice, any advice. The best analogy that was given to me was school. We go, if we're in high school, right? We show up for 4 years and we don't ask any questions. Monday through Friday, we understand, hey, we got to do this for 4 years to get our high school diploma. 4 years. You show up, you go to class every day, you write your notes. Think about the hours you're putting in. Treat the market like that. Show up every day, Monday through Friday. Journal, take notes, learn, right? Trading is one of those things where everyone wants to make it in 4 days, in 4 weeks. It's approach it with a realistic mindset. Give yourself a good time frame. Say, okay, let's see where I am 2 years from now, 3 years from now. And what's funny? I promise you, I got to where I'm at from losing. God honest truth. I got to where I'm at in my journey from losing. I failed my way to success. I understood what I was doing wrong, and it's weird enough. You kind of got to go through that to learn, to figure it out. So hope this helps. Really not trying to rant, just trying to give you guys some real knowledge about this. I'm no guru, bro. I'm no guru. I promise you. The same way now, you guys are seeing the good month many years ago. At that time, I was on Robinhood and TradeZilla wasn't even a thing. But I've had my 7 losing days in a row, right? I've had my 2 weeks losing in a row, but I didn't quit, right? I showed up and I was trying to figure out what I was doing wrong, and I was just learning. So really hope that helps. But I think one of the biggest breakthroughs is, crazy enough, I know I've said this before. Life is what you make it. Trading is what you make it. And once you get in control of your system and your emotions and all those things, you really do realize that you control how easy or hard trading is. You really do. You really do. Look at this beautiful break and retest. I mean, golly, look at that. Buyer step up aggressively. This is a big trade. This is why I get out very quick on zeros. This is 602.85. This thing's already at 604. On a momentum push, I know for a fact this is over a 20% trade on Qs. Especially if you get one strike out of the money. This is why I'm in and out, because this thing can fail on you, this and that. You don't have theta on your side. But this is almost a $2 move. You know what I mean? That's a big payday, especially on Qs. Look at that. Look at that. It took all this time for us to get up here. We pulled back again. Buyers defended this very aggressive. That is textbook. That's what you love to see. So on our tech names, on a technical standpoint, right, you never got a retest here. You never got a retest here. So if it was a cache for you, really on the tech names, you didn't miss much. Qs was really the one to watch, as we know. So, but it filled this gap, which is solid. We're bullish bias. This thing's moving. Now I want to see it get over 607. Within 4 minutes, we already pushed back to the high day. So buyers are definitely defending this thing, pushing it higher. Look at that. The trend is your friend. The dip is your best friend. Let's go here on the daily. Solid. Super, super solid. For me, my A plus long dip buy is over the 612.80. That's for me personally. Remember, I want to see the top of this zone turn into support, and I never felt like I got that. Never felt like I got that. So remember, this is what Qs did for 3 days, right? Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. We all we did was that. Yesterday was a great day because we filled the gap, and then you can see today, right? It's like these are just things that's setting up, and that was like part of my edge when I was realizing, like learning market structure. I realized, okay, every day for sure is not an A plus setup. No way, no way, no way, no way. Because I understood market structure. Like, oh, okay, even though I'm bullish bias, the market's pulling back and filling this gap. Oh, okay, there's thin volumes. I have to wait for that to get filled. All those things, you know what I mean? So super solid here on the Qs. I mean, this is beautiful. Look at that. We are moving higher for a fact. So yeah, hope that makes sense. And trading is one of those things where it's all on you. I studied Mark Douglas religiously, him and Tom Hogard. Those are two gentlemen who really changed my mindset and my view. But something Mark Douglas says, and it's so true. He says your failure or success in the market is not because of the market; it's because of you. If you're failing in the market, it's not the market's fault; it's you. And if you have success in the market, it's not the market's fault; it's you. And for me, thankfully, I never really went through a drawdown period. I never went through a drawdown period, but for the longest, I was just stuck at break even. I was always stuck at break even. And the reason for that being is because I was emotionally attached to the money. So as soon as I would see green, I would get out of the trade and I wouldn't let it play out. It took me a while to build that mental callus to, hey, sit in my trades. I don't set profit targets. I let market structure tell me when to exit my trades. I manage my trades on the higher time frame, but it took me a while to get to that point. So, I kind of hope, that makes sense. But that was a big wake up for me when Mark Douglas, he said, your failure in the markets, it's not the markets, it's you. And I was like, man, you're so right. So, we kind of all, at least for me, I had a little bit of a little victim mindset when things weren't working out. And for me, things flipped when I was like, you know what? Let me not put a time frame on when I should be successful. I was like, oh man, I gotta make it by then. I gotta make it by then. And then I kind of just let go and put the car on auto drive, and things worked out. It really did. So I think that's where a lot of people go wrong too, is they try and force when to be consistently profitable. Just let it play naturally. You hurt yourself when you put a time frame on it. You really, really do. So treat this like school, right? Show up Monday through Friday, and if you don't trade, so be it. Journal, learn. Do not underestimate the power of sitting and doing absolutely nothing. Watch tape, learn market structure, learn those things. So, we're in a bullish market. I understand that. So I'm not looking to short anything. I showed you guys yesterday. Um, I went to filters on TradeZella. Like, I'll show you this really quick. This was a big thing for me, like in my journey. Filters, side, short, apply filters, nothing. I've taken 0 puts this month. Look at that. I've taken absolutely nothing this month on puts. Why? Because these names are trending. They're like the trend is your friend, right? These are high probability setups. And that's where I started to learn, oh, okay, how do I identify and enter a high probability setup? What is a high probability setup? And I went down a checklist and I had to understand, like, okay, this is what it means by high probability. And one day, it clicked. It was like, why am I shorting a name that's trending on the weekly and on the daily? When you get those big continuation plays, like, you're not going to get that if we're trending on the weekly or on the daily on NVDA and you leave runners and then you get stopped out, or you're looking for continuation and you get stopped out. Why are you not going to get that? Because you're counter trend trading, right? The trend is your friend, the dip is your best friend. Look at this. We're trending, right? Just a pullback long. I see it as a dip, buy step up. Yesterday, watch the live trading session from yesterday. We melted to the downside. We melted. I'm sure people were looking for 5-minute ORBs, this and that. We melted to the downside. What did I do? I went long. I went long. I ended up going long because I understood, hey, this market's trending. I'm looking for pullback longs off my key levels. So I hope that makes sense. Hope that makes sense. Less is more. Identify high probability setups. Be patient. Let your trades come to you. And another thing, like if we have a bias on the higher time frame, and I know I've said this before, I'm I know I'm not coming into the day looking for a short. So that takes pressure off my shoulders. I know I'm not looking for either a long or a short. I'm not looking for either one of those. I'm only looking for one, which is longs, right? So that takes pressure off your shoulders. If you see the morning downside, you're not chasing it. You're not shorting if you're trading on the higher time frame. So that eliminates the blood pressure going up. Like, oh crap, do I take a short? Break and retest. The market's heavy. This name is heavy. What do I do? Like, I just say, okay, I'm just gonna wait. I'm just gonna wait. I'm gonna wait for buyers to step up at a key level, and take my shot. And that's exactly what we did yesterday. I'm actually happy we can speak on this because we did this yesterday. It's very hard for someone to see this and go long, right? It was a 0, so I'm very conservative. Did I leave some money on the table? Absolutely, but no regrets. I trade zeros very differently. But it's hard for someone to see just straight downside, right? Imagine what this 15-minute candle looks like. And you go long, because I know this is the higher probability setup. And then today, right, just a pullback long type of day. We saw the same thing on Friday last week. Same thing. So I think I'm pretty much going to call it here. It was a good week. It was a quick week. Base hit week, right? Don't underestimate the power of compound interest, right? Don't. We got 2 weeks left, a lot of opportunities left in this market. Outside of QQQ, in my opinion, on today, nothing really set up. We never got a retest here on Apple, never really got like a solid retest here. I understood I was playing momentum. And like now these names are pulling back. You would want to look for the retest, but I don't want to sit in slow choppiness or momentum on a 0 DTE. So I hope that makes sense. But my homework to you for this weekend, if you made it this far to the end, a couple of things I want you to do. I want you to get out a piece of paper. And I'm very big on writing and journaling physically. As you know, study shows that the brain contains information more when you actually write it out. I want you to get a piece of paper, and I want you to write the definition of an A plus setup in your system. It may be how I trade only off the higher time frame key levels. You wait for the breakout. You wait for displacement. You wait. I'm giving you the educational videos to understand that and to learn it. You wait for the confirmation. You know that you're trading with the overall time frame. You know you're marking out your key levels from the weekly, the daily, for like you write out everything on what an A plus setup is, entry criteria is on your system, on your trade. Write it out. And then when you do that, I want you to look at every single trade you took and ask yourself, was this an A plus entry? Whether it was a win, whether it was a loss. And that's one thing, right? I don't come into the market every day looking to take a trade. I took 2 cash days in a row. I don't care. I don't care. I only want to take the highest probability setups. So that being said, ask yourself, why are you not only taking A plus setups? Respectfully, I say, you're a liar if you say every day you have an A plus opportunity setup. And when you look at these from a statistic standpoint, based on these names, each name will maybe give you a solid maybe 1 to 2 A plus setups a week, maybe one, right? So I really hope that makes sense. This week, I feel like on AMD, we never really got a setup. It's been a slow week. Like I said, the market started off 3 days in a row doing nothing. AMD never really got a setup. Apple is the only one that blessed us this week. Out of NVDA, Apple, AMD, and Tesla, Apple is the only one that gave us A plus setups this week, right? Go back and look at them. So, that's your homework this weekend is write down the definition of an A plus setup. What is your edge? These are things I was doing. Like I would physically write out in steps what my edge is in the market. Okay, break and retest, wait for displacement, wait for a deep enough pullback. The tighter the deeper the pullback, the tighter the risk. Like don't use this weekend to do nothing. If you're unprofitable, you're inconsistently profitable, bro, put in the work. I clocked my 10,000 hours, I promise you. And it sucked. It made me, I was for sure just locked up in my room, locked up in my dorm. It sucked. But like I promise you, you can't fail in this if you don't quit. If you don't quit and you figure out what you're doing wrong, you can't fail. It's impossible. The only way you fail is if you don't journal. Remember, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different outcome. Figure out what you're doing wrong, right? So I hope all this helps. I'll have my lesson video out today, and I'll have a weekly recap out today as well. As you know, I don't like to look at anything on the weekends. Look at Qs. I mean, bro, look at Qs. I love this, man. Simple. Like I know I'm not looking to short. You get a break and retest. Like I said, pre-market, if this thing can fill the gap, it can take off. History likes to repeat itself. Look at this daily candle. 2 Fridays in a row. 2 Fridays in a row, right? Buyers are defending this thing. We know our 595.85 is such a strong level. Look at this candle. We're trending to the upside. This is a thick bullish candle. Now we're back in play. I'm looking for this dip. So next week, right, on a Monday, give me one sec, like next week on a Monday, or anytime next week, I know I've been saying this. I'm looking for this. This 612 is our version of 673 on the SPY. I'm looking for that. I want to see, the top of this channel, right, turn into support. And I kept saying, I feel like I never got it. We gapped above it, we fell under it, we gapped above it again, and then we fell under it again. So I'm still looking for that. That is super solid. Just being patient. Just being very patient for that. It's no coincidence. So, if you caught Qs today, you're looking for break and retest pullback longs. So if you caught that today, kudos to you. The only reason I like this play, if I were to take it, which it was a gap fill, and I know we're bullish bias, so that's an objective. Remember, I said typically speaking, within the first 48 hours, the gap is going to get filled. So, like on a Monday, it's easy to take this because I know it's AMD. Those comps don't move that much. They're not going to be that aggressive. You have theta on your side, so you can take a shot here. But on a Friday, remember, the deeper the pullback, the better. And you can see it this morning on all these names. Momentum was just so strong to the upside. We never got a retest. We never got a retest. Only retest we got here was on the Qs today. That's it, twice. This move pushes all the way back up into the high day. That's exactly what you want to see. It's exactly what you want to see. Super solid there. Probably want to target that. Yeah, so it's good. So hope today was an educational day. Hope you're able to learn from me. Hope my rant didn't bore you, but it's really just me trying to help you, educate you, explain things to you in the most simple ways possible, and how I shifted, right? How I became profitable, what I learned, and I stopped taking all those setups, like 5 minutes and pre-markets. Like I'm saying, those are good for scalps, but you got to understand. And then I realized I was losing when I shouldn't have been losing. And I know I broke this down to you in the past. The most frustrating loss is when your thesis is correct, but you have a terrible entry point and you lose the trade even though your thesis is correct. So for an example, right, you see this uptrend. So you see this and you're saying, okay, it's an order block. The wick of the order block is the strongest. So I'm going to wait for that, right? You see that. I know I've explained this in the past. Like, okay, we're trending higher. We got an order block, right? So I just want to wait for the break and retest of this order block to get the break, right? Buyer step in aggressively because the wick is stronger. This thing shoots higher, right? But then you get stopped out. Then you get stopped out. And the frustration of that stop out is one, the bigger RR trade was down here. And two, as long as you're above this level, your thesis is correct. So you get stopped out even with a correct thesis. Those were like the losses that were very frustrating. So hope this helps. Hope you guys had a good week. Hope you're able to learn. Thank you guys for rocking with me. Let's keep the momentum going. Like I said, I don't really care about win rates and stuff like that. If you've been trading, you don't even need a big win percentage to be profitable. But definitely something to be proud of, right? Like this is hard work. This isn't easy. This wasn't Rome built in a day. You know what I mean? It took me time to get here. So, 2 winning weeks in a row, solid. And what I want to explain to you, right, one last time is two things here that you see on my chart. What do you notice? One trade a day. One trade a day. And I know when my big setups come, I'm gonna get paid, right? I'm not gonna force the big wins. My sizing is very consistent. One trade a day is a part of my edge. That's actually a part of my edge, right? I get data, I get a clear average, I keep my position sizing the same. One trade a day, win or lose, walk away. That's like really a part of my edge. It's just only one trade. Um, and then like I've already showed you, no shorts this week. If this market wants to move higher, I'm moving with it. Hopefully, Tesla can get back in the mix because Tesla can pay us very well, especially at the start of the week. But right, no shorts. To each their own. Do what's best for you. Shorts. How many times have I shorted this month? None. Why would I? Like, why would I? You know what I mean? So hope you're able to learn. Right, patient pace. So I hope I explained things a little bit more thoroughly to you. But I will see you guys next week.